Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the show where we take a whole stack of sources, really dig in and pull out those crucial nuggets of knowledge for you, all to help you get genuinely well-informed fast. And I have to say, for me personally,
Yes.
well-informed often starts right after that first, well, essential cup of coffee in the morning. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I need that solid boost just to, get my thoughts straight right now. You know that feeling, right? That
Yeah.
sort of fundamental human need for the first brew of the day.
Oh, absolutely. It's really quite something, isn't it? That whole morning ritual. For so many of us, the very first decision we make often revolves around, well, coffee. It's definitely more than just a drink. It's that moment, maybe quiet reflection, maybe just that personal connection, or like you said, that universal quest for the perfect kickstart. It really does shape how we feel about the hours ahead, doesn't it? Deeply tied to our energy, our focus. And for those of you who usually catch us over at Radio BFit, it's really great to be back doing what we love, just taking a deep dive into something, fascinating and practical.
It really does touch so many lives. And that connection, well, it leads us perfectly into today's big mission. We're tackling a question that, let's be honest, probably crosses every single coffee lover's mind. Maybe even when you're standing there in the grocery aisle looking at all those bags of beans. The big question, is dark roast or medium roast truly superior? When it comes to boosting your energy, the taste experience, and maybe even contributing to your overall health, we're setting up a real battle of the brews here. Because let's face it, a lot of our assumptions, those deeply held beliefs about these two coffee giants, they often get completely challenged by the actual science. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Exactly, and that's precisely why we're here today. Our goal is to cut through, the myths, the stories people tell, maybe the marketing hype too, and just give you the real research-backed scoop. Our mission today is to really extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from our sources. We're looking specifically at the detailed insights from Coffee Roast Showdown, energy, taste, and health. We want to help you navigate all those coffee choices out there and pick the roast that truly aligns with, well, your wellness goals, your energy needs, what works for you. So over the next little while, we're going to debunk those persistent caffeine myth. We'll dig deep into the surprising nuances of flavor. We'll uncover some really intriguing health benefits you might not expect. And of course, share practical tips you can use right away. Think of this as like your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about your coffee, making sure it's as beneficial as it is enjoyable.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Segment one, roasting basics and busting that big caffeine myth. Let's start right at the beginning. What exactly happens to like a humble green coffee bean during roasting? Because understanding this transformation, this fundamental process, is absolutely key to unlocking everything else we're going to talk about today. I mean, if you've ever seen a raw green coffee bean, you know it doesn't smell or taste anything like the coffee we actually drink. So what's the magic? Or, what's the science that turns these little seeds into our favorite brew?
That's a fantastic place to start. Because, yeah, the roasting process, it really is a complex alchemy. It's all driven by heat. Initially, those green beans, they're dense, right? Almost no smell, kind of grassy, vegetal taste. But once they hit the roaster, boom, profound physical and chemical changes start happening. You can sort of imagine it like baking, but really meticulously controlled. As the beans heat up, moisture evaporates. That's the first thing. Then sugars start to caramelize. Fats and amino acids undergo what scientists call the Maillard reaction. That's the same reaction, by the way, that gives you the browning and flavor in things like seared steak or toasted bread. It's this symphony of chemical transformations creating thousands of new aromatic compounds. It changes the bean's structure, its color, and crucially, its flavor potential.
Wow, okay, so it's not just getting darker, it's fundamentally changing chemically.
Exactly. And the intensity and the duration of that heat, that's what dictates the final character of the roast. So let's talk specifics. For a medium roast, the beans are typically heated until their internal temperature hits a kind of sweet spot, roughly 400 to 430 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in there. And in this range, the beans strike this remarkable balance. They've developed some body, some sweetness, but, and this is key, they still retain a lot of their inherent natural flavors. You'll often pick up those more delicate notes, maybe floral things, bright fruity tastes, nutty hints. These really speak to the bean's origin, its variety. The process enhances the natural sugars and acids, creating this complex, viable cup. It celebrates the bean itself. Visually, a medium roast bean, it'll be a nice rich brown, usually without much oil on the surface. That temperature range is crucial because it lets the bean's own character shine through. It's not, totally overwhelmed by the roast itself.
Okay, balanced, the original bean flavors come through. Makes sense. So what about dark roast then?
Right? Contrast that with a dark roast. Here, the beans face significantly higher temperatures, often getting up to maybe 465, even 480 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're roasted for longer, too, this longer, hotter exposure. It causes a much more profound transformation. A lot of those delicate, nuanced flavors we just talked about in the medium roast, they literally get carbonized. Or, burned off is a common way to put it. But in their place, new, much bolder flavors emerge. We're talking pronounced smoky notes, often things like dark chocolate, deep caramel, sometimes even a bittersweet, really roasted quality. The Maillard reaction, the caramelization, they're pushed to their extremes here. This leads to a much fuller body, and you often see that characteristic sheen, that oil on the surface of the beans as the heat draws them out. It's a completely different flavor experience, one that really emphasizes the roasting process itself. It creates this robust, intense profile, often described as having a heavier mouthfeel, maybe a longer finish. The original bean's identity. It definitely takes a backseat to the power of the roast.
That is a brilliant breakdown. Really paints a picture of why they taste so incredibly different. The temperature and time really are the sculptors of taste here, aren't they?
Yeah.
But this immediately brings up the burning question, the one I know so many of our listeners are thinking about, especially first thing in the morning. What does all this alchemy mean for the caffeine? Because let's be real, for a lot of us, caffeine is the goal, that vital spark to get the engine running.
And this is exactly where we need to tackle one of the biggest, most persistent myths in the whole coffee world. It's so often assumed that dark roast, right, because it tastes so intense, so bold, it must have more caffeine. Or conversely, some people think the longer roasting kind of burns out the caffeine, leaving you with less punch. But here's where it gets really interesting. The truth, like always, is way more nuanced than just gut feeling or popular belief.
Okay, I'm ready. Bust the myth for us.
All right, the caffeine myth busted. Here's the core insight from our sources. Roasting doesn't drastically change the caffeine levels. Not really. Caffeine, chemically speaking, is surprisingly stable. It has a high melting point. It doesn't just easily decompose or evaporate at the temperatures normally used in coffee roasting. So that idea that dark roasting somehow burns off a significant chunk of caffeine, it's largely incorrect. The caffeine is still mostly there, pretty much intact.
Whoa. Okay, so if the caffeine amount is basically the same, the confusion, why does everyone think dark is stronger or weaker?
Ah, the real trick. And this is why the myth is so sticky. It all comes down to one fundamental detail, how you measure your coffee. This difference between measuring by volume versus measuring by weight. This is the real aha moment for so many coffee drinkers.
Volume versus weight. Okay, like using a scoop versus using a scale.
Exactly. Let's break it down. First, measurement by bean count, or more commonly, by volume. This is how most people make coffee at home, right? You use a standard scoop, maybe 2 tablespoons, whatever your scoop is. If you're scooping your coffee grounds like that, a medium roast will actually give you a slight edge in caffeine, just a tiny bit more.
Wait, medium roast has more caffeine per scoop. How does that work?
Because medium roast beans are denser. Think about it. They haven't been roasted as long or as hot, so they haven't expanded as much. They've lost less moisture, less mass compared to dark roast beans, which puff up more. Now imagine comparing like a scoop of unpopped popcorn kernels to a scoop of fully popped popcorn. The unpopped kernels are smaller, denser, they'd weigh more for the same volume. It's similar with coffee. A scoop of medium roast grounds actually contains a slightly greater mass of coffee material and therefore slightly more caffeine.
Wow, okay, that completely flips the script for scoopers like me. That's a real revelation.
It really is. It directly contradicts that intuitive link we make between dark flavor and high caffeine. So yeah, if your home brewing relies on scooping, that medium roast might just be delivering a tiny bit extra kick.
Okay, but what about the people using scales?
Yeah.
The pros, the serious home brewers.
Right. Now, if you're measuring your coffee by weight, using a scale for precision like professional baristas and many dedicated home brewers do, then the picture changes slightly but not dramatically. When measured by weight, dark roast and medium roast actually have very, very similar caffeine levels. In fact, because the dark roast loses a tiny bit more moisture and other volatile stuff during the longer roast, the caffeine that is there becomes very slightly more concentrated in the remaining bean mass. So technically, dark roast might have a tiny, almost negligible edge in caffeine concentration by weight. But let's be super clear, this difference is so marginal, so incredibly small, it's practically unnoticeable to the average person drinking it. You'd need lab equipment to reliably detect it.
So negligible difference by weight.
Okay. Exactly. So to give you the most actionable clarity here, if you scoop your coffee at home, medium roast probably gives you a fractional caffeine advantage per scoop if you weigh your coffee, or frankly, if you just don't want to agonize over tiny fractions. The caffeine content is practically the same between medium and dark. Your perceived energy boost is unlikely to be dramatically different based on roast color alone, assuming you brew them the same way by weight. It's a powerful insight that really helps us rethink things.
That's genuinely mind-blowing, especially for someone like me who just always assumed dark roast equals bigger kick. It really does challenge that deep-seated belief, doesn't it? So, okay, if caffeine strength isn't really tied tightly to roast color, let's pivot. Let's tackle another common misconception. This one really plays tricks on our minds. The idea that a strong flavor automatically means more caffeine. We often equate that bold, maybe bitter, robust taste with a powerful, stimulating kick, right? Our brains just make that leap. Tastes intense, must be intense. But here's the crucial bit you mentioned: flavor strength and caffeine strength. Not the same thing at all. Our senses, how we taste, play a huge, almost deceptive role.
You've absolutely nailed such a critical point there, the flavor profile of a coffee. That's a totally different universe from its biochemical makeup, its caffeine content. And it's precisely this sensory experience that creates what we often call perceived strength. It's that mental connection, that emotional response our palate triggers. Let's really try to differentiate these sensory journeys to understand why certain roasts might feel stronger or more awakening, even if the caffeine is basically the same.
Yeah, break down those flavor profiles for us, medium versus dark.
Okay, let's start with the medium roast flavor profile. Typically, we're talking about a cup with a lighter body, maybe a more pronounced, brighter acidity. Think of it maybe like comparing a crisp, zingy white wine, maybe a Sauvignon Blanc with citrus notes, to a heavy, full-bodied red wine like a Cabernet. The medium roast really lets those more nuanced, delicate flavor notes shine through. The bean's inherent character. You'll often detect this amazing spectrum. Maybe floral hints, bright fruity notes like berries or even stone fruit, sometimes subtle nutty or chocolatey vibes that are just part of that specific bean's origin and variety. This liveliness, this brightness on the palate, it comes directly from specific acids like citric, malic, phosphoric acids that are developed and carefully preserved during that medium roast process. It creates a cleaner, more vibrant taste. It often stimulates the front and sides of your tongue, leaves a lighter, maybe even refreshing finish. It wakes up the palate in a distinct, almost sparkly way.
Sparkly. I like that. Okay, so medium is bright, nuanced, acidic in a good way. What about the dark side?
Right, now let's shift to the dark roast flavor profile. You're stepping into a whole different sensory world here. That longer, hotter roast. It dries off those delicate, intrinsic notes we just talked about. They're gone, but
What?
in their place, a new symphony emerges. Deep, bold, robust flavors. You'll often experience pronounced smoky notes, sometimes reminiscent of cedar or even pipe tobacco. Alongside that, rich dark chocolate, maybe toasted caramel, or even distinct bittersweet char-like qualities. These are often described as full-bodied, intense, really satisfying. It's this powerful, resonant taste, this almost primal depth that often tricks people and makes them instinctively perceive it as a more caffeinated brew. Your brain just connects that deep, resonant flavor, that almost burnt or robust quality, with a stronger physiological effect. Even if the actual caffeine isn't significantly higher, it's a very satisfying, deep flavor. Often coats the palate more heavily, lingers longer, creates a profound sense of robustness.
Okay, that makes total sense. So if what you're really chasing is that punchy, deep, robust flavor experience, that rich, intense satisfaction, then yeah, a dark roast will definitely feel stronger to your taste buds. It delivers on that intensity expectation through flavor alone. Gives you that powerful sensation.
Precisely. And that's a valid preference. But here's the really fascinating nuance we touched on earlier. If you're chasing a different kind of perceived energy, maybe a feeling of being more acutely awake, mentally sharp, a medium roast can actually feel slightly sharper, more awakening, precisely because of its bright acidity.
Ah, because of the zing.
Exactly. That zingy, vibrant quality stimulates your palate differently. It can send a distinct kind of sensory jolt to your brain. It's not about the actual amount of caffeine. It's about how your mouth and brain interpret the whole sensory package. Those brighter, more acidic notes. They can sometimes cut through that morning fog in a way that a smooth, deep, dark roast might not, even if both cups deliver identical caffeine. It's a mental, physiological awakening tied directly to the taste characteristics, the acidity. So yeah, while dark roast delivers on strong flavor and comforting depth, medium roast can deliver on a sharp awakening in sensory terms, offers a different kind of invigorating feel. That's why paying attention to your personal sensory response is so important. What wakes you up?
This is completely changing how I think about my morning cup. It's clear there's so much more going on than just the buzz or the taste. Okay, let's move beyond energy and flavor. Let's dig into the health benefits. Because, as our sources point out, both dark and medium roast coffees aren't just enjoyable, right? They offer some genuinely good-for-you perks. But here's where they really start to diverge in interesting ways, emphasizing different beneficial compounds, offering distinct health advantages, all shaped by that roasting process we talked about. It's not one size fits all for wellness, is it?
That's a perfect transition because, yeah, understanding the health side adds a whole new layer to choosing your coffee. It's not just about energy. It's about what might proactively support your body, your long-term health. Let's dive into those specifics, looking at the unique compounds each roast brings.
All right, let's start with medium roast health perks. What's the story there?
Okay, for medium roast health perks, one of the most significant things our sources highlight is its consistently higher concentration of chlorogenic acid. Now, chlorogenic acid, for anyone not familiar, it's a type of polyphenol. And polyphenols act as powerful antioxidants in the body, which, in the grand scheme of health, is a pretty big deal.
Antioxidants, those are the good guys that fight cell damage, right?
Exactly. Think of them as your body's cellular bodyguards. They protect your cells from damage caused by free radicals. These unstable molecules produce naturally during metabolism, but also from things like pollution, UV rays, certain foods. Free radicals can cause damage, contributing to aging, chronic diseases, inflammation. Antioxidants neutralize them, disarm them. So getting more of these protective compounds is generally seen as really beneficial for long-term health.
Okay, so medium roast has more chlorogenic acid, a potent antioxidant. What does it do specifically?
Well, research links chlorogenic acid to a couple of key potential benefits. It seems to play a role in helping regulate blood sugar levels, so that's interesting for metabolic health, maybe reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes. Plus, it's known for its ability to fight systemic inflammation throughout the body. And since chronic inflammation is now recognized as a root cause or contributor to so many serious health issues, heart disease, neurodegenerative stuff, anything that helps reduce it is a significant plus for wellness. Because medium roasts have shorter, less aggressive roasting times, more of these original, delicate, beneficial plant compounds, including chlorogenic acid, are preserved from the raw green bean. So essentially, with a medium roast, you're getting a cup that retains more of the coffee plant's natural protective goodness.
More of the original plant power, basically. Okay,
Yeah.
fascinating. Now, what about dark roast? Does it have its own health angle?
It absolutely does. Let's point to dark roast health perks. And here we find a distinctly different set of advantages, especially, interestingly, for people with specific sensitivities. Dark roasts are notably richer in a really interesting compound called N-methylpyridinium, or NMP for short.
N-methyl pyridinium. Okay, never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not as famous as caffeine or chlorogenic acid. What's intriguing is that NMP isn't actually present in the green bean. It's formed during the longer, hotter roasting process itself. Certain precursors in the bean change chemically. And what's really fascinating here is its potential role in protecting against stomach acid buildup. This is incredibly significant for anyone who gets discomfort, heartburn, acid reflux, that kind of gastric irritation after drinking coffee.
So this could be why some people say dark roast is easier on their stomach.
Precisely. NMP seems to interact with stomach cells. It might signal them to produce less acid, or maybe it helps neutralize existing acid somehow. It creates a more alkaline environment. This provides a real scientific explanation for why some research and just tons of anecdotal reports consistently suggest dark roasts might be significantly gentler on digestion for people with sensitive stomachs or acid reflux. If you've had to limit coffee because of that upset, a dark roast, maybe brewed a certain way, could genuinely be a game changer.
That's huge for a lot of people, I bet. Any other dark roast health points?
Well, our sources also mention a small human trial. It was published in the Journal of Medicinal Food. It offered an interesting, though minor, finding. It suggested dark roast coffee slightly boosted weight loss compared to light roasts. Now, it's really crucial to put this in perspective. The effect was explicitly called minimal. So it's definitely not some dramatic weight loss solution on its own.
Right, don't expect miracles just from switching your roast.
Exactly. It's an interesting data point for researchers, maybe a tiny piece of the metabolic puzzle, but you shouldn't count on dark roast coffee as a primary tool for shedding significant weight, just a small potential bonus.
Got it. Minimal effect there.
And just to tie these health points together, it's really important to remember that both roasts contribute meaningfully to your overall antioxidant intake. Sources like Harvard Health Publishing consistently point out that coffee, generally speaking, is one of the biggest sources of antioxidants in the average person's diet. So regardless of your preferred roast, you're still getting those protective benefits against cellular damage. The key difference, as we've explored, is which specific antioxidants are more dominant or which other unique beneficial compounds, like that NMP, are formed or preserved. This helps you guide your choice based on your personal health priorities.
That's a brilliant and really needed distinction. So it really isn't about one being universally better. It's about which roast aligns best with your specific health needs or sensitivities. If maximizing those chlorogenic acids for blood sugar and inflammation is your goal, maybe medium roast is the way to go. But if you struggle with a sensitive stomach, acidity, reflux, dark roast could be a much more comfortable and still really beneficial choice. Okay, this leads us to a crucial practical part. Segment 4, optimizing your cup, energy, taste, and practical tips. So with all this amazing nuanced info, caffeine realities, flavor versus perceived strength, these distinct health benefits, let's get down to the brass tacks. The choices you make every day. If your primary goal when you reach for coffee is that reliable, sustained energy boost, what do the experts actually recommend based on our sources? How do we translate all this science into the ideal morning kick?
Okay, yeah. For those primarily chasing maximum energy, we do have some clear, actionable advice building right on what we've discussed. Based on the source material, experts generally lean towards a medium roast if you're measuring your coffee by volume. Using that standard scoop at home, like we clarified, those denser medium roast beans give you that slight but real edge in caffeine per scoop. But it's not just the numbers, remember. It's the experience, too. That lighter, brighter sensory feel of a medium roast, the crisp acidity, the vibrant notes, that can actually help you feel more alert, more awake. The sharper flavor profile acts as a different kind of wake-up call, makes you perceive the energy boost more acutely, like a cleaner, more direct jolt.
Interesting. So the flavor itself contributes to feeling energized.
It seems so, perceptually. Furthermore, if you're really aiming to optimize for mental clarity, that sharp, focused energy, our sources suggest considering single-origin medium roasts. Let's just unpack that quickly. Single origin means the beans come from one specific place, one farm, one region, maybe one harvest lot, not a blend from all over. This singularity lets their unique intrinsic flavor profile come through really purely, without the complexities or sometimes heavier notes you get in blends. This clarity of taste, this lack of competing flavor layers, it seems to translate to what some call the cleanest caffeine experience. Your palate isn't processing multiple signals, allowing the stimulant effect to feel more focused, less muddled by a rich taste. It's about a direct, sharp jolt for cognitive focus.
Single origin, medium for clarity. Got it. But what if I just really love dark roast? Am I sacrificing energy?
No, absolutely not entirely. And this is crucial to reiterate, this isn't all or nothing. If you genuinely prefer that bolder taste, if you find real comfort and satisfaction in the ritual of a dark roast, it absolutely still delivers excellent energy benefits. Remember, the caffeine difference by weight is negligible. So if your palate truly loves that smoky, robust, dark chocolate thing, you definitely don't have to ditch it completely for energy reasons. It's about finding your personal sweet spot between the taste you love and what best serves your body's need for sustained, comfortable energy.
That's fantastic practical advice.
Yeah.
Really empowering for listeners to tailor their choices. But you mentioned something earlier, the real game changer. The thing people might overlook, it's not just the roast, it's profoundly about how you brew it. The brewing method can unlock or concentrate those compounds in totally different ways, right? It's like the secret weapon.
You are absolutely right. The brewing method is often the unsung hero in all this. You could pick the perfect roast for your goals, but how you extract it can dramatically change how those beneficial compounds, and especially the caffeine, get into your cup and into your system. Different methods use different principles, temperature, pressure, time, leading to really varied chemical profiles and sensory experiences.
Okay, so break down some common methods for us. How do they change the game? Espresso, cold brew, drip.
Let's do it. First up, espresso shots. These are masters of concentration. The process forces hot pressurized water through finely ground, tightly packed coffee. That high pressure and quick extraction mean that even from a dark roast, you get a really potent dose of caffeine in a tiny volume. So if your goal is intense, powerful, fast-acting energy, regardless of roast preference, espresso is super effective. That small shot delivers a lot of caffeine bang for your buck. Ideal for a quick, sharp jolt.
Espresso, concentrated power. Got it. What about cold brew? That's super popular now.
Cold brew, yeah, huge for good reason. This involves steeping coarse grounds in cold water for a long time, usually 12 to 24 hours. This long, slow, cool process allows for incredibly efficient caffeine extraction. Actually, cold brew often extracts even more caffeine than traditional hot brewing, especially from medium or light roasts, just because of that super long contact time. But here's the other magic part. Because it uses cold water, cold brew typically has a much smoother, inherently less acidic profile. That's a massive bonus for sensitive stomachs. It minimizes those acidic compounds that cause irritation. So with cold brew, you get a powerful caffeine punch delivered really gently.
High caffeine, low acid. Sounds like a win-win for some people. Okay, what about good old drip coffee?
Drip coffee, probably the most common home method, right? Drip is super versatile. It lets those nuanced differences between medium and dark roasts really come through. Offers a balanced, consistent extraction. It doesn't concentrate caffeine like espresso, nor does it typically extract quite as much as a long cold brew steep, but it still delivers high caffeine levels in a standard cup. Provides a reliable energy boost. The moderate contact time and water temp make it a great way to experience the full flavor range and consistent energy of your chosen roast without getting too complicated. It's a fantastic everyday workhorse.
That's such a crucial layer, the brewing method, a secret weapon indeed. Okay, so pulling all this amazing practical info together, what does it mean for you, the listener, when you're standing in the coffee aisle or at the cafe, trying to be the best choice for your day, your health, your energy? Let's give some real-world scenarios.
Excellent idea. Let's translate this into immediately useful recommendations for different situations in your routine. Here are some specific, actionable scenarios combining roast and brew straight from our deep dive insights. Okay, scenario 1. Your classic morning energy boost. You want bright, clean flavors, a solid caffeine kick to really start the day strong. Unequivocally, we recommend a medium roast drip or cold brew. Medium roast gives that slight caffeine edge per scoop, plus the bright, vibrant flavor feels more awakening, paired with the reliable energy of drip or the potent, low-acid punch of cold brew. It's a winning combo for invigorating taste and robust energy.
Morning kick, medium roast drip or cold brew. Okay, what about before a workout?
Good one. For a sharp, fast-acting pre-workout boost needing energy and focus for exercise, a medium roast espresso is outstanding. The concentrated caffeine from espresso plus the sharper, brighter, less heavy notes of a medium roast provides that rapid jolt without feeling heavy right before you move. It's a precise, targeted energy shot.
Pre-workout, medium roast espresso. Makes sense. How about later in the day, that afternoon slump?
Ah, the afternoon pick-me-up. You might want something comforting, smooth, rich, but maybe not too zingy or acidic, something that won't mess with sleep later. An uninterrupted dark roast pour-over could be absolutely perfect here. Dark roast delivers that deep, satisfying flavor and still gives great energy. But its smoothness and lower acidity make it gentler, maybe less jarring late afternoon. A pour-over method, being controlled and precise, really lets that richness shine. A calming yet energizing ritual.
Afternoon comports as dark roast pour-over for smooth comfort. Okay, last big one. Sensitive stomach.
Right. For anyone with a sensitive stomach, heartburn, reflux issues, this is where dark roast is the hero. Strongly recommend a dark roast combined with a lower acid brewing method like cold brew or French press. Remember, dark roast has more NMP, protecting against acid. Combine that with cold brew's inherently low acidity, or a French press, which also tends to be less acidic and full-bodied. It can make your coffee experience much gentler, far more comfortable. You might finally enjoy coffee without the payback.
Dark roast plus cold brew or French press for sensitive stomachs. Brilliant.
So you see, it's really about consciously aligning the roast and the brew method with your specific needs, physiology, energy goals, even the time of day. Your perfect cup is a deliberate creation.
This has been incredibly insightful, honestly, quite revelatory. As we wrap up this deep dive into coffee roasts, it's just abundantly clear there's no single universal best coffee, is there?
Yeah.
The next time you're in that coffee aisle, pondering the bags or debating your order at the cafe, just remember the ultimate choice. It really comes down to your personal taste, your health priorities, your daily energy needs. The best cup is deeply subjective, wonderfully personal.
Absolutely. It's all about empowerment through understanding. Just to quickly recap those key distinctions we found. A medium roast offers that slight edge for caffeine per scoop, excels in flavor brightness, and potentially maximizes those chlorogenic antioxidants for blood sugar and inflammation. Great if you love nuanced, vibrant origin flavors.
And dark roast.
Dark roast brings that profound richness, that satisfying smoothness, and that unique lower acid experience thanks to NMP, making it easier on digestion for many. Still incredibly energizing, deeply satisfying. Ideal for bolder flavor lovers or those needing gentler digestion.
So the ultimate truth, the big takeaway here is beautifully simple, isn't it? The best coffee is genuinely the one you enjoy drinking consistently, the one that makes you feel good, energized, satisfied. It's finding your personal sweet spot.
It truly is about that personalization, aligning it with your unique body, your desires, and now, armed with this knowledge, you can approach your coffee ritual with a whole new level of intention, maybe even appreciation.
Precisely. So with all this fantastic practical knowledge now at your fingertips, we really encourage you. Experiment. Don't be afraid to step outside your usual routine. Maybe try that medium roast cold brew tomorrow morning for a crisp energy boost. And then, maybe for a comforting afternoon moment, explore a dark roast pour-over. What new flavors, what surprising energy insights, what new enjoyment will you discover by consciously choosing your roast and your brew method? The possibilities are delicious. The journey is yours. We really hope this deep dive has given you a whole new, informed perspective on your daily brew. We hope it empowers you to make more precise, more satisfying choices. We absolutely love helping you gain this kind of knowledge quickly but thoroughly, really cutting through all the noise out there.
And if you're looking for even more guidance, maybe optimizing your nutrition, understanding energy habits better, or just want clear, practical, research-backed fitness and wellness articles. Remember, you can always visit the BeFit blog. It's our free go-to source for more trusted information, expertly curated insights, all at befit.ai. It's a fantastic resource for just deepening your understanding of all aspects of a healthy, balanced lifestyle.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive into the fascinating and surprisingly complex world of coffee roasts. Thanks so much for joining us, for allowing us to share these insights with you today.
We really love exploring these topics with you. We're always here to help you navigate the world of health and wellness with clarity and confidence. Until next time, stay curious, keep experimenting, and enjoy your perfect cup however you choose to brew it.
And just a quick but important reminder before we go. This deep dive is intended for informational purposes only. It is absolutely not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult a healthcare provider for any personal health decisions.